Hi everyone, welcome back to episode 2 of Healing Out Loud with AD. Of course, I'm in a different setting, but I decided like, hey, you haven't heard from me in a while. I felt like I just dropped the first video and then I disappeared. But a lot has been happening. I do have a lot to say. I do have a lot of topics I want to cover. Like, I know for sure my next one will be healing is not linear, and then the next topic will be healing in friendship. So there's a lot to cover. I just can't really find the balance right now, but I am getting there. And something happened to me recently where in Trauma Reboot, I was tasked with the entire group, was tasked with telling their story. And I did mine. And I thought that this would actually be a good update on where I am at in my healing journey. So after this, you will see a clip of it. And I really hope it blesses your heart. Also, for some reason, I thought that my phone had enough memory and it didn't. So somewhere along the line, my speech was cut off because it says, it didn't have enough memory and it was coming closer to the end. So what will happen is you will see a video of my speech and then you will see me coming back in again with the ending of the speech in these clothes, of course. So I will complete the speech from here so you can get the gist of the ending of the speech. And yeah, I hope you guys have been well. I hope you have been well. I know that life is lifing for a lot of us, but even while what life is lifing, God is still on the throne, so we still have a lot to be thankful for. And yeah, I have a lot of updates. Let me tell y'all, like, it has really been a journey these last couple of weeks, and it has been up, down, like a roller coaster of emotions, but not in a bad way. Just like I had to process a lot of things and a lot of feelings, and so from that angle. But okay, enough of me rambling. We're gonna get into the video right now. I did come in and said I was not going to cry. Here I am crying. Okay. I thought long and hard about giving this speech. The more I thought about it, the more I dreaded it. Many of you here already know that I've been dreading this moment from the time we heard that we had to speak about our story. I told the people at my table, we really couldn't make it through the speaking segment, Let's just cry for 10 minutes and then we can speak for 5. And honestly, that was my intention. Because when I think about my story, it used to make me very sad. I said I wasn't even crying. I saw myself as someone who was a victim of life's circumstances. But the more I reflected on giving this speech, the more I realized that I have already come a very long way. So tonight, I am not speaking from a place of brokenness. I am speaking from the other side. I didn't write this speech to bring tears to my eyes, although it has already. And I don't want to bring tears to your eyes. I want this speech to move us, not in tears, but to encourage us and to remind us that wherever you are right now, we all can make it to the other side. I was born and raised by a strong, independent, single mother. She was from St. Kitts. She is from St. Kitts. And even in those words alone, you can already understand the foundation of my upbringing. This shaped me into the adult that I am, that I became later. I understand when trauma is not recognized, there is no opportunity for it to be addressed, and then it can be passed on. So honestly, it was passed on to me, but the buck stops here.
As a child, I was very soft. I remember my mother nicknaming me Pussycat. My early childhood is blurry. I can't remember much of it. I just remember it just feels like one day I woke up and I was like 5 or 6 and my life kind of just started from there. I get little fragments of what my life was like because of the stories that my family members would tell, but I can't say like, you know, at the age of 3 I played, and I don't remember any of those things. So at a very early age, my mother saw, I believe, what she would have considered some weak or soft traits in me. She saw how deeply I loved people, how loyal I could be, and she would even say, your loyalty will get you killed. She often told me, have many friends, treat them well. Never to a friend your secrets tell. Because when a friend becomes a foe, all over the world your secrets will go. And that was my mother speaking from trauma. She taught me a lot of responsibilities at an early age, how to cook, clean, and take care of things around the house. And while other children would brag about their parents taking care of them, I often felt like, now I can put words to it, like a little Cinderella. Not that I was forced to take care of my other siblings or my mother, but I just felt in the moment like, I don't want to wash my clothes. Why am I ironing at the age of 9, like, or 8? Like, I just didn't feel like I had to be doing those things. Essentials, they were essentials that would make me, they were essentials that would make my life as an adult so much easier because of what I was taught and how I had to adapt. I became hard. I became tough. I became the child who didn't care about friendships the way others did. If you stayed, it was fine. If you left, that was fine too. I spoke my mind to teachers, adults, and anyone in authority. Not because I was bad, but because I didn't understand in the moment the things, the adult words that my mother would tell me with my childlike mind. It often reminds me of the movie Matilda. Any of you watched it? So Matilda's father was a car salesman and he was like a scam. He was a scammer. And one day he told Matilda, when a person is bad, a person should be punished. And Matilda, with her childlike mind, took it literal. You are a person, you are bad, so you need to be punished. When the reality is, a child is not necessarily, a child is not supposed to retaliate against a parent. But of course, with her childlike mind, she took it the literal way. And that's what I did with most of the things that my mother said. Was my mother's advice bad? No. Was her delivery and wording the best? No. Did she make me stronger to an extent? Yes. Did it cause me trauma? Yes. Because two things can be true at the same time. As I continued growing, I went through MAC, being teased and getting licks from my teachers and principal. I was called too skinny, ugly, and I was made fun of for my big lips. Then I went to academy. My lips were no longer an issue. But the teasing still continued because then I got teased for being like slightly bow-legged. But one thing I consistently did, I showed people that my mother didn't raise a punk. But through all of that, one thing remained constant. I was intelligent. I was always an intelligent child. Yet even with that intelligence, I was known for being tough. I had a slick mouth. I would tell teachers off, students off, and even friends. I did not hold back. As I grew older, the pattern followed me into adulthood. My defense became my words, and my guard became my attitude. My mouth was lethal. You told me A, I told you B to Z, because why you need any other letter in the alphabet? I would warn you, do not get low with me because I can take it to hell with you. I didn't like problems. I didn't want to look for problems, but when it came, I took it with open arms and I handled it well. When I entered the workforce, I began hearing similar things in a different way. You're very intelligent, but your mouth is slick. You're smart, but you're socially distant. You don't attend social events. You're always the last to come and the first to leave. I was seen as intellectually strong, but socially inept. But it takes more than intelligence to heal or to be whole. And even today, socializing is still something I continue to work through. You guys know. That's why the laughter. So while I appear tough on the outside, I was often operating from a place of hurt. But that was not true strength. That was survival. And despite that toughness, I still found myself in situations where I was deeply hurt, including a relationship where I was verbally and physically abused. However, in that season, something began to shift, and I found myself getting closer to God. Even with the walls that I had built and the toughness that I carried, my true character still peeked through. Even what I tried to suppress, it just had a way of, with the right people, it started to come out. People would still see kindness in me. They would still see me as a loyal person. They would still see love beneath the shell I had carried for protection. And then this year, I hit rock bottom. Even in that place, hurt, broken, and trying to make sense of life, I was still receiving prophetic words. Apostle Ivan was one of them. Words about my purpose, ministry, and God doing a work in me. And deep down, I knew something. It required obedience. And one of the greatest forms of obedience for me was realizing that I needed to work on myself. To understand my trauma, to understand why I behaved the way I did, why I spoke the way I did, and why I thought the way I did. That was the beginning of my turning point. I made the decision to join Trauma Reboot. I want to take a moment to sincerely thank Coach Valerie and Coach Edwards for the work that you guys have put into Trauma Reboot. Your vulnerability, your commitment, and your patience with us has really helped us to be able to sift through our traumas and to be able to take intentional steps to becoming whole. I also want to stop and acknowledge you, my fellow rebooters. We are all on a journey. We have all experienced pain, none less than the other. But here we are, showing resilience, not choosing flight, freeze, or fright, but choosing to fight for wholeness. And I think we all deserve a round of applause. Through Trauma Reboot, I have learned that healing is not linear. I have learned that all of my emotions are valid and they come from God. And I will experience them sometimes in excess. But what matters is how I manage them. Trauma Reboot has taught me to take accountability for my actions, my words, and my deeds. It has taught me to reflect instead of react, and to recognize the impact of my behavior while understanding the trauma behind it. It has also taught me to forgive myself when I make mistakes concerning the management of my emotions, and to ask others for forgiveness and move on. It has also helped me to see people differently, to be less judgmental, to remember that we all have a story and we've all fallen short. It has helped me realize that I cannot be ignorant to what people may be carrying or what they may have survived in silence, and to become more gracious, more understanding, and more willing to extend forgiveness. I have also learned that I cannot allow people to place an identity on me. I am not who people say I am. I am who God says I am. And I am who I choose to become in alignment with Him. From the beginning of this journey, I made a hard decision, and that was to heal. I had to accept that people would not understand it. They would not understand my decision to heal, my decision to attend trauma reboot, or my decision to walk this path alone. Recently, I realized for a long time I lived as a people pleaser. I showed up based on expectations, even when I had nothing to give. I was drained, empty, but still performing, until I realized I had to choose myself. So I can relate to you. Healing meant doing things differently. It meant taking time in my own space, not to isolate from people, but to spend more time with God. To pray, to read my Bible, and to journal, and to be honest with myself. It meant me asking people, what do you expect from me in this season? And me being honest enough to tell them, I can't meet that right now. It took me realizing that people who need healing themselves will not always understand when and why you choose to heal. But this year, I chose alignment. I chose healing. I chose to block all the noise and to work on myself. And now, I am on the other side. Please, make no mistake, I'm not saying that the other side is my final destination. I actually see healing as a journey, and I want to equate it to a road trip. And I am moving from one city to another. The city that I moved from, because I ain't there no more. Huh? The city I moved from, it is a city that I have lived in majority of my life. That's where I found my comfort, and that is a city that was not good for me. And I'm now deciding that I need to go to a new city. But before I can get to that city while driving, I am passing through other cities. So I actually stopped in a city. I'm in a city right now, but I ain't staying here too long, because I've realized that each city may bring up new traumas. And so I want to deal with the trauma that's presented in this city, move on to the other cities until I reach my final destination. My aim is to reach my final destination of wholeness. I am still learning how to navigate this new version of myself, but I am no longer who I used to be. I can still be loyal, but now I am more discerning. I can still love, but now I have boundaries. I don't have to be hard. I can be soft. I can let my walls down now. And I no longer feel a need to show up the way everyone expects me to. I no longer have to be my previous extremities of being black or white, or just having a very squared mentality. It's okay for me to take time for myself. It's okay for me to recharge. It's okay for me to spend time with God and pour into myself. Because now I understand healing is not a weakness, it's a strength. And I know this. God has restored the light that was dim in me. He has erased the shame and embarrassment that was placed on me. And He has healed the wounds that once tried to keep me down. My past does not define me. I am healing towards a brighter future, and I can start over at any time, and I chose to start over this year. I am here to remind you, if I can go from broken to healed, from guarded to growing, from surviving to becoming, so can you. I was listening to the Full-Fledged podcast, and if I can leave one thing with you, it was Priscilla Shire was talking about making a cake, and she said the ingredients on their own don't make sense. You just have flour, you just have eggs, you just have oil, and you just have sugar. All of them are separate, but all incomplete. But when they're combined and placed on the heat and given time in the oven and and pressure transformed them. It's a beautiful cake that is formed. And that is what life has been for me since Trauma Reboot.
Okay, so this is the part where I'm ending my speech and I will be reading it. Everything I went through, the pain, the pressure, the growth, has been shaping me into something still in progress, but already becoming something beautiful in God's hands, and He can do the same for you. I look forward to seeing all of us on the other side in a new city. Thank you. So that is how I ended my speech. And I don't want to keep you back. I don't want to keep you here too long because the speech was already like, 18 minutes. So I will see you on the next episode.